Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and we got Keelan over here. How you doing, man?
I'm very well, very well. How about yourself?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And happy Wednesday to everybody. Hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. Keelan, how was your week so far?
My week so far has been a little slow,
Mm,
but coming off of the meteor that was last week, known as Thanksgiving week, I
right.
can understand. Winding down, the body's catching up to the brain.
Yeah, we're at all of those extra calories we ate over the weekend is catching up to us. I can get that for sure. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We have a wonderful show for you this evening. Keelan and I have picked our second movie on the Screen Time Continuum, and that is the 1996 smash hit Bulletproof, starring Damon Wayans and Adam Sandler. I'm going to get into the pedigree information about this movie, and then we're going to open it up to Keelan for his first impressions and the intro to the movie, because what we like to do here is kind of take you through the movie. So if you didn't feel like watching this particular film, you can just listen to this podcast and it'll be like you're there. We will tell it better than the movie did.
Much,
Or
much better than the movie
much,
did.
much better. Yes. Okay. So, like I said, Bulletproof is a 1996 film. It was directed by Ernest Dickerson, and the writers were Joe Gaitan and Lewis Collick, and it's starring Damon Wayans, Adam Sandler, and James Caan. For those of you that remember our last episode, James Caan was in Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger, also another 1996 film. We chose him as our actor in The Wormhole, and it landed us here, Bulletproof. So, yeah, the synopsis for Bulletproof.
Oh, wait, really quick.
Yes.
Like how I got that timing down perfect. So I want to make sure that we do mention the director, Ernest Dickerson. I took a quick trip into his background, maybe 3-4 minutes, didn't do too much,
Mhm.
but I thought it was very interesting that right on the surface, you discover that he worked with Spike Lee back when Spike Lee was graduating from his master's degree thesis, and
Mm.
he was, I believe, a cinematographer for Spike Lee is how he began. So
Okay.
he worked with Spike Lee on Spike Lee's student film, um, and a bunch of other stuff that we'll all notice if we look down the line. But something I thought that was very, very, very cool is he went on later to direct episodes of TV shows like Once Upon a Time, The Wire, Dexter, and I believe Walking Dead was on there as well. And I think a few Netflix shows as well. I thought that was very cool to mention and cool to notice simply because of how far this movie dates back. Um, People will probably understand once we get into our critique of this movie, but there was a lot of great work that came from him later down the line.
Right. This will not be a reflection on any of the people involved. Um,
Correct.
we're trying this new system in which we kind of randomly pick movies, and sometimes they're going to be great, and sometimes they're going to be not so great. But we're going to review them just the same, and we'll give credit where it's due, and we'll give criticism where it's due as well. So the synopsis for Bulletproof is two criminals, Keats and Moses, end their friendship when Keats turns out to be an undercover cop. Sometime later, the two are forced together when Keats is assigned to protect Moses as a witness. All right. So, where do you want to start, Keelan?
Sorry, I was accidentally muted there. Um, I don't know. I don't know. This okay, so I'm gonna start with this. This was a very different movie from the very beginning, but it was very obvious from the very beginning. So once I get through my first 2 minutes of telling you guys how this movie started, you're gonna kind of already know how this movie ends.
Mm, right.
But let's start at let's just start at the opening scene. Let's start at the opening
Yes.
scene
Sure. We didn't get a montage this time,
at
which
all.
is great. I appreciate that.
Well, if I'm being honest, I think we got extended montage that just didn't have any thematic music behind it. Well, it had thematic music, but it also had dialogue and a change of scene.
Yeah, it was more of just the movie had started with the credits that were kind of rolling on anyways.
Right. But
Yeah.
and to me, it's the way that first so I'll go through that first opening scene. To me,
Mhm.
it did actually play out like a montage, but it was again, like you're saying, they took the credits through the first couple of scenes, and that's how they, in my opinion, went around and I'm sure in 96, in their opinion, especially coming right behind Bad Boys and Eraser and those kind of movies that were very in your face, because this wasn't I know it hit the theaters, but it wasn't as big of a blockbuster. Or in my opinion, hey, what was I, like 7 at the time? But I do remember a little bit of acclaim behind this movie even at that age. And so I'll break it down. We open with the guy on TV talking about, how he loves America and he thinks the American dream is having 2 cars in every household, dragging the camera out to the 2 thieves stealing the Ferrari in the driveway of the guy who was watching that commercial.
Mhm. And
Um,
on the TV is James Caan,
correct.
who plays a car salesman, as far as we know right now.
Right. Correct. And to me, that was automatically like, okay, why is that important?
You're right.
And
Yeah.
it's just you wouldn't have that be the very first thing that's in my face unless it was
Right.
important. And I
James
had
Caan with a weird green screen behind him.
super weird green
Yeah.
screen and just being overly zealous about this American dream.
Right.
Right? No used car salesman is that excited about trying to sell 1 car, let's know it 2.
Right.
So those things played in for me, and then this is where I feel like I'm not sure, I didn't even pay attention to when the credits actually stopped rolling, but I feel like this is when the montage ends, when they're driving through the crowded streets after stealing this Ferrari, and now the police are right on their tail.
Right. And the Ferrari looks like it's a Ferrari that has, like, it's a car, like a Miata that has a body kit on it.
Right.
It did not look like a real Ferrari.
Right.
At least maybe the Ferraris back in '96 looked like that, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. I think they probably just slapped a body kit on a junkie car.
Oh yeah, no, that Ferrari drove like the Batmobile. Definitely a stage car.
Yeah.
But what else I found very funny about it was, okay, here you are, you're driving this super fast Ferrari, and you're speeding through these busy streets, and the police are following you. And now there's a crowd in front of you, and you drive straight through it, and you didn't even have to turn the wheel, and you hit nobody.
Yeah. Oh, of course they're that good, obviously, and they're
Right.
also they're driving down Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, which is kind of interesting to see. Shots of LA in the '90s. That's always kind of like a little nostalgia for
sure.
myself, and I'm sure for you.
For sure. Yeah, it definitely brings back memories of being a child.
Right.
But so that's where I felt like the montage ended right around that moment, simply because from there we jump into, if you would like to take it from here.
Oh, well, yeah. Pardon me. So the police are chasing them in the Ferrari that they had stolen, and this is Adam Sandler and Damon Wayans. They're friends, obviously car thieves. And they managed to evade the police, like Keelan said. But for some reason, they stop in front of a police station. And I'm not really sure what this added to the whole situation, except for maybe like the hints that Damon Wayans' character is a cop. But they stop in front of a police station with this hot car that they just stole after just shaking the cops. And Damon Wayans asks one of the cops outside of the police station if for directions to Disneyland. And obviously the cop is like, you want to go to Disneyland? And then I think that this old scene was just for Adam Sandler to make a mentally disabled joke.
Yes.
1000%.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to say that, well, I'm glad you said that. I was saving this for a little bit later, but it's going to happen again. There are certain scenes in this movie that are specifically written by Adam Sandler, and they stand out. Now, there's some scenes that are also written by Damon, and they stand out as well, but not as much. Like, you have to pay a little more attention. For me, it just so happened to be there were a couple of moments where I had to pause or step away, and I always rewind a little just in case I missed something.
Right.
And at least 2 of those times happened to be on scenes that clearly Damon had written or were written for Damon. I'm glad, in my opinion, and then we can get back to that. I'm glad that none of them were the Adam Sandler jokes of 1996. I will take all of his 1999 jokes, no question.
Yeah, I kind of think he did like for the mentally challenged, because basically Damon Wayans is like, I'm trying to take my friend. He's mentally challenged. He wants to go to Disneyland.
Say it for me.
What are the directions? And then like Adam Sandler does his like water boy sort of voice, and what just popped out on me, I was like, why in the world would you at nighttime ask the police for directions to Disneyland? Because this is at nighttime. We forgot to mention
snickering,
that.
laughing.
This is not in the middle of the day,
right?
Right.
And that car commercial was an infomercial, so let's assume it's like 1-2 a.m.
Right, exactly. So it's not necessarily, rush hour. Disneyland's past close. But, I think it's just to tie in the fact that Damon Wayans is a cop and, he's going to go back to that very police station very soon. So I guess that makes sense. So they get away and they get to a bar. And my first instinct was in this bar scene is like, why does every bar in the 90s look like a flop house? It's like every bar in the 90s has like really bad lighting and graffiti everywhere.
If you owned a bar in the 90s, you couldn't afford anything upscale. What is this, GTA?
Right, I guess so. But yeah, so this bar is really seedy. Obviously, it's a dive bar. There's graffiti everywhere. This scene establishes the fact that like Adam Sandler's character Moses has kind of like a big mouth, but Damon Wayans' character Keats always bails him out and kind of protects him because he hits on this chick and this big guy gets in his face, and because he has Damon Wayans as a friend, he's like not really concerned about it. And so that was just another little scene, I guess, to establish the relationship. Although I have to say, and I'll say it up front, I did not feel any chemistry between these two.
Thank you.
I honestly, it felt like it did not even feel like they knew each other even a little bit. Like filming this movie, it felt like they were complete strangers.
Okay, so I didn't quite get the stranger side, but what I did get was that you have that friend that you're friends because of this and not because of that. Like, I think they're real life at the time, especially, and mostly because of where they were seemingly in their careers, right?
Right.
I almost believe that they were really close friends, but they do two different styles of comedy. They do two different styles of acting, and at the heart of it all, they're two different people.
Yeah,
and I think can see that. The 90s is full of movies that, or just scenarios in general. Some of them are TV shows where they just said, "Okay, here's two hot names, and let's put them together." Right.
Yeah.
Whether you have chemistry, because every friend knows who they do and don't have chemistry with, and every friend knows who they have too much chemistry with, to where they'll get lost in the sauce and it won't even be worth it. I think this is more of that, in my opinion. I think this is more of that, like, we're friends, but we really shouldn't be working together because this is what happened.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I don't know. I mean, like, maybe it's the writing felt a little stiff, or just, the pace of the movie itself. There was really no establishment of anything.
No, it just went on.
It's just like it just started, and then like I'm supposed to buy their relationship, but so basically after the bar scene, during the bar scene, Moses, Adam Sandler, mentions to Damon Wayans Keats that he is getting set up for a big job, and he wants Keats's help with the big job. They're playing the idea that they both need money, and that this is like a really big, score for them, and it's to basically provide logistics for some sort of nefarious deal.
Right.
This is after this scene, we find out that Damon Wayans is an undercover cop. He goes back to the precinct, right?
Right. Well, and so really quick with the big job offer, first, he does the most coppish thing that you could do. You just questioned your boy about having more money than you, and basically in public, and now when he got you, pulled to the side, it's just you and him tucked off, and he telling you about where he get his money from, and he giving you the inside. Right. Oh man, I'm just a poor little car thief.
Right.
You don't get the hell, man. Nah, I'm calling cop on my own friend right there. I'm just a poor little car thief. Nah, man. Listen, bro, if we both down and I'm throwing you a bone, what's up? especially
Yeah,
if
why are
you
you
didn't
gonna make
put all
the
the dirt. Well,
yeah,
and
why are you gonna
also
make the distinction?
exactly. Now, and I also want to say I did not like Damon's play up of the and this leads right into the captain scene. I didn't like his whole play up of the street black guy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
brother. What's up, Mo? How you using East Coast language, East Coast jargon, but you're supposed to be on the West Coast?
Right.
I'm confused. That don't.
I think it was just like the popular. It
No,
was
no,
kind
and
of
that's exactly what it is.
yeah.
If I'm being totally honest, I actually hate a lot of movies from the '90s for that. Even
Yeah.
when they make the white guys do it, like Malibu's Most Wanted,
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
thought it was funny in the moment, but looking back at what he had to do to just make you laugh, it's like, yo, that's tough. But
Yeah.
like,
Right.
but so from there, the whole him having to play it up a little bit, and then I'm just a poor little car thief to the okay, the jokes between him on the other black guy, it's like, all right, y'all literally dressed this dude like Miles Davis on purpose.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was very bizarre.
It was like, why, and why is he
Yeah.
all in his face? And then, oh, there's still good guys at the end of it. No,
Yeah. Well, I
um,
mean, yeah, we'll get
we'll
there,
get
I
there.
guess.
Yeah. So, creepy Capitan is introduced. You were saying,
Oh yes. So basically, do they this I honestly I can't remember. So Damon Wayans, he's at the precinct, right? And then oh yes, his captain is like, don't like basically we're gonna get this guy because or he's encouraging Keats to go on this sort of job
right?
so that they could bust whoever the big player is. Um, Keats is reluctant. He doesn't want Moses to get, hurt or in trouble. He doesn't really want to do the job, but he gets convinced to do so.
Right.
Then you smash cut to a scene where Keats and Moses are going to the job, right?
Right, which I feel like that scene, the scene that just left before that, and the scene coming up after this, I feel like there is something missing from the storyline.
Probably about 5 or 6 scenes in between.
Easily.
A lot left on the cutting room floor.
And if I'm being honest, I would even say 3 if it were in between.
Right.
Making this a stream of 6 scenes that would have been total that got turned into 3.
Yeah, there's just it was a very harsh cut, and then it's just like, oh, now they're at the thing. That's
okay. Like, is this the same day? Is this the next day? I don't know.
Right, I have no idea.
But yeah, so they go and they meet the big boss, and so I have to say about James Caan, I love how he plays the same guy in different every single time, but it's like it's not a different accent, but it's a different energy, but the exact same actions.
Yes. Yeah, so
same dialogue almost.
So they have the big boss moment where they go and sit, and it's all al fresco, and he's eating outside, and it's the ocean's right there, and so like they sit down.
Salesman.
Yeah, they sit down with this guy. His name is Colton, and he's the used car salesman that we saw in the first scene of the movie. And apparently, he's not just a used car salesman, but he is a major trafficker in narcotics. He wants to basically have Moses help him out with this deal. He vets Keats in this sort of meeting by making him lift up his shirt, or making Moses lift up his shirt, and to ensure that he's not a cop. And then we get another smash cut, right?
Right.
Like a quick cut right to
him being wired up.
Him being wired up in the locker room of the precinct, and that was very jarring to me too, because I was like, "What? So is it?" I thought for a second, I'm like, "Wait, so did that happen before or after? What was going on?" So, but this is after. Apparently, he's now going to go on the job, and the cops are wiring up him.
And that's one of the few moments where Damon Wayans, in my opinion, had very good facial expression acting there, where he looked like he didn't want the wire. It was like, oh.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate it. Actually, if I'm being honest, this was around the moment in the movie where his acting did pick up a little bit. But
for whatever you can do in this movie,
in this scenario, correct?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm being 1000% honest with you, it kept giving me gentle Homie the Clown vibes.
Me too, man. I kept hearing it in his voice. If it was so bizarre. And I
Right.
think that was the affect you were talking about just a minute ago. Like that, he kind of dipped into that affect a couple times.
Right. And it makes me wonder. Now, this is clearly much later than Homie the Clown, the character.
Oh, yes.
But sometimes, while I'm watching different levels of art from different people, I wonder how much of the art is just them as a person.
Yeah,
Like,
I do too.
maybe Homie the Clown isn't really a character. It's just how goofy he is off camera. Right. And they found a way to profit off of it.
Yeah, I would think so. I think there's probably a lot of his, just his normal demeanor and personality in that character for sure. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of bleeds over in everything else that he does.
Right. Sorry.
No, go ahead again.
Yeah.
What?
So, and right before we get to the Kingpin, still while we're with the Kingpin, I think that is also a good point from when they leave from the bar to him being at the precinct with the captain to now being with at the big boss's house before we get into everything else. Because again, you see that high dial up of the yo, yo, yo to the really low down dial of it all. Just, hey, Captain, I really think in this and this and the the whole introspective side of him to go into the next scene, which is right back to, yeah, homie, it is, it's very,
he's not very good at being an undercover. If
right. And that's honest. Exactly what I'm saying. It's very like, oh, that's why everybody thinks you're a cop.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And if I'm being honest, at a certain point, this movie did start to make me think like, what is this a spoof of?
It did feel like some sort of homage. And I think, like you said, Bad Boys had just come out the year before. And I think they were just coasting off of this sort of like mashup style buddy cop, thing going on. But yes, so they finally get to the deal, right? And they're in this warehouse, and the first thing I thought was, this is the most diverse group of gangsters I've ever seen in my entire life.
The exact same thing,
bro.
It is literally right next to, he is given a wire in parentheses, diverse criminal ensemble.
Very diverse. Oh, pardon me, my levels just went too high there. Very diverse. My goodness, like I was like, there was a white dude, there was an Asian dude, there was a Hispanic dude, there was a black dude. Like, honestly, I was like very, very impressed.
Man, I rewound that scene to see if there was any repetition of ethnicity.
It didn't seem like there was.
No, there wasn't. In fact, the closest thing was there was that you had the Hispanic guy, the Asian guy, and then you had another guy, but I couldn't really figure if he was white or Hispanic. And then it jumped to the Hispanic guy up in the Raptors. And I was like, all right, well, that's a Hispanic guy. And then two guys in between. And another
right. Yeah, exactly.
That's the closest you got to repetition, though.
It was very progressive. It was, it felt like a very interesting group of people. Yeah. So they make it to this warehouse, and they figure out that they're moving pure heroin, and they're taking it from cars, the inside of a car, and putting it into hollowed out Bibles. That was their trafficking mode.
If your Bible is as thick as your car door, let me know a couple things.
Yeah. Those were very thick Bibles. Very thick. Probably about 4 or 5 inches thick.
I'm just saying, I know I got the wrong version if anybody's Bible is that thick.
Yeah. I must have the abridged version.
For sure.
Yeah. So okay, so during the drug deal, one of the head guys, the Hispanic dude, I guess you would call him, right? Mm-hmm. He's like gets a little bit fidgety about Keats's character, because Keats is looking around and trying to notice things, and,
right?
So the leader of the gang, the Hispanic guy's like, confronts him about it, like, what are you doing, man? You look like a cop. And Damon Wayans' character Keats is like, no, I'm not a cop, man. You better back off. And Adam Sandler jumps in, and he's like, trying to tell the sort of like the leader of the gang, he's not a cop, don't worry. And he unzips his shirt to show that there's no wire, and obviously Keats has a wire on. So this is what kind of sours the entire situation for everybody. So what happens next here? We go to the so basically he gets outed, and then I guess, did they have a gunfight? Because it looks like
Yes.
Keats like arrests Moses like almost immediately.
No. So right after he unveils that, he punches the guy. He holds a gun on him, trying to arrest him. Yes, almost immediately.
Mm,
And that is when the gunfight ensues, because as he pulls a gun on him, the backup busts in, because they were listening in on the wire.
right.
And so after backup busts in, it's just a big old gunfight.
Oh yes,
Moses goes on the run. Keats goes after him. He catches him at the top of the rafters.
Mm-hmm.
At the second, or I guess the guy running the docks, the Hispanic guy with the looked like straight out, he was out of West Side Story.
Yeah.
That's how we should have described him from the beginning. But so he pops up, Keats turns, pops him, comes back around, and that's when Moses gets hit by the crane. What is that? A crane hook, I guess?
Yeah. Okay, so we got to go back a little bit. So during the incredible firefight where people are just getting mowed down, the police come in, and there's this crane operator that was lifting the cars up for some reason. I don't know why, but he's on the crane, and he wasn't even he didn't even have a gun. He was just operating the crane, and they just lit him up.
He tried to drop the car very aggressively, though.
Oh, okay. So he did, but they weren't even near the car, and so he dropped the car very aggressively. They responded by putting like 20 bullets in him, and that's what caused the crane to start to go a little crazy and cattywampus.
Yes,
and
that
so
was not just moving just because.
Right,
planned.
Right, exactly. There was a reason. And so when Keats and Moses have this like showdown basically in the rafters of this warehouse, Moses has the gun on him, and Keats has the Hispanic guy behind him. He shoots the Hispanic guy, and as soon as he turns around to Moses gets hit with the crane, and fires a bullet at Keats. Hits him in the head.
Between the eyes.
What? Right, it literally hits him in the head. I saw that shot and I had to rewind it because I'm like, okay, is that just a graze? Because it looked like he got square shot.
Popped. Yeah. That thing went. There was no exit wound.
No, like it's just like a bullet lodged in his brain.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming by what we're gonna have to reveal in the next part, I'm assuming whatever he was shot with, he had a thick skull, man.
Bro, it's literally impossible. He had a 9mm, bullet to his brain, basically. But anyway,
I say a 22 would go through. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, totally. So I was gonna say, so Moses manages to escape the warehouse with a dirt bike that came from nowhere.
Dirt bike ever.
But where did it even come from?
In the upstairs office, like somebody's Huffy.
Oh, okay. So he escapes the warehouse, and then obviously Colton's henchmen are right outside waiting for him, and he gets scooped up by them, but he manages to escape by punching Colton in the dick.
And ensues the dick jokes.
Yeah.
And I'll give him that. At least for an Adam Sandler movie, for the first quote unquote dick joke to be at least 15-20 minutes into the movie.
That's true.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's true. So we then get like another very jarring cut to Keats basically being rolled into the hospital and being operated on, and waking up out of an undetermined amount of time coma to see a woman hovering over him smiling, which I thought was very strange.
Who looked like an angel.
Right.
She looked like the angel of death, if I'm being honest. But
right.
And that was at that very moment, at that very part, the first introduction to me, I'm like, why?
I always think it's weird that there would be somebody just staring over you while you're in a coma.
It's the worst part of movies to me. Like every time somebody wakes up from a coma, somebody just staring them directly in the eyes, and I'd be like, "Where's the pillow? Where's the pillow?"
Exactly. So this woman is later to be found out that she is the physical therapist for Keats, and will be helping him in a montage of recovery to walk again. And of course, the English patient sort of thing happens, and Keats and the physical therapist, Tracy, I believe is her name,
yes,
fall in love and
Tracy Flynn,
and become an item. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was also cheesy. I want to make sure I say it slow.
Yeah, big time cheese.
It was like hot cheese fresh off the griddle when you cut the bread open, but you cut the bread with your hands, no knife, so it's just
Yeah,
stringy.
yeah, yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
it would have been fine if they didn't fall in love.
Yeah, I would have been okay with that too, but I think that was just kind of like shoot in there, and for reasons that we'll have to disclose later on in this
Yes,
episode,
indeed.
because we don't want to spoil it for you guys.
Oh, not at all.
But so then we have this other that basically he makes it, he's able to walk again, he recovers, and this is his first day back, I guess, at the precinct or whatever. And I think it's hilarious that these two guys are like, two of the cops are just like talking about him like he's not there. They're like,
Right.
man, not even a bullet could stop him. I wouldn't want to be on his bad side.
A millimeter to the left or right, he could have died. Like,
yeah. Exposition machines. So he gets to the precinct, and then he is told by his boss that Moses has turned state's witness and is going to testify against Colton, the narcotics trafficker. And obviously Keats is upset by this because Moses shot him in the head, and he doesn't want to have to deal with Moses anymore. He betrayed their friendship. And he tries to fight with his chief a little bit about it. Obviously, the chief says this is the only way it's going to work. Is Moses said the only way he'll work with us is if you personally are the one that helps him, or picks him up. I guess he's just supposed to pick him up, right? Let's see. And I just wrote down the timeline doesn't seem very cohesive because I don't know how much time has passed between Keats being shot and him being back at the precinct. They don't tell you. It could be years, it could be months, could be weeks. Well, I have no clue.
Like either one of them had to get a fresh shave at any point, so I assume
right.
It's the same day, but
right. Yeah, it could have been the same day exactly. Keats says that he's only going to be Keats says he'll do it, and then you have this weird cut of basically like it goes to him back at home with the physical therapist lady Tracy, and they get into this argument about like he hasn't been the same since he's been shot, and he's let Moses kind of like seep his way into his psyche, and he's not the same guy anymore. Right. Even though I don't know how she would know that because she only knew him after he was shot.
Well, she says that herself. She's like, I didn't know you before the accident, but everyone says, whoa.
Okay.
Yeah. You're talking to everyone.
Yeah, who are you running your mouth to about me?
Who you pillow talking with? And you ain't on my pillows. Hold up.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, no, that she actually when she mentioned to that, I was kind of like, that's weird.
Yeah, it was a little strange, and it was a very like it was one of those scenes too that was like there was probably 3 or 4 scenes in between,
right?
Like
for sure,
there was probably more scenes at the precinct, maybe more scenes of him coming home or something like that, but like there just wasn't. It was just that one scene, and then obviously we cut right to the tarmac where Moses is being delivered to the LAPD, I guess. And it's this long tarmac where the plane is at one side of the entire like piece of land, and everybody else and the hangar is on the very far side. I don't know why the plane isn't anywhere near the hangar, but we won't ask because we'll find out in just a second.
But that's not the craziest part.
Yeah,
the craziest part is that he had his dog the whole time he was in custody, but the moment he gets picked up, there's no more, I had to leave my doggy. Wait, what? So who's taking care of the dog?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that dog was his dog. I just thought it was a random dog that was there.
Oh, yeah. And
I
thought it was the other guy's dog. And then when the dog followed him out when he left, and then, he keeps the dog, it was just weird. Like, it was almost like, and it looked like the little dog from Little Rascals, and it was like,
oh yeah, it was
Spot here.
Spuds McKenzie from or the Target dog, There you go.
Yeah, the Target
That's
dog
it.
video.
Yeah.
It's like for why.
Or Next Friday, right? That was the same dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was his
What
name?
was his name? Chico.
Chico. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chico.
Chico. Yeah. And so, okay, Keats and Moses meet in the tarmac, and the best line to come out of this movie is when Keats says, "I want his asshole cuffed to his nuts."
You didn't have to say that.
I did because they had to say it.
Yeah. It showed his level of his real true feelings towards him.
But it also just showed this like disconnected idea of how like blue collar people talk. You know, like I've never heard anybody say that type of thing.
Big joke
Like,
number 2.
Yeah.
We know who wrote it.
That's true. Maybe it was Sandler all this time.
We know who wrote it.
So they have to move from the tarmac or the hangar that they're in, and now they're walking to the plane. And the plane, as I said, is a good 5 miles away from the hangar. I don't know why. It's like down the runway, very far away. Apparently they wanted to get a good hike in before they transported the prisoner. I don't know why they didn't have a car to just chauffeur them between, but it was
and use up the government's gas.
Right, that's true. So obviously there's a long walk between the hangar and the plane, and they are accompanied by all these sheriffs and stuff. Soon, as soon as they start walking towards the plane, the sheriffs start getting popped off by a sniper. Snipers, hitting them with a silenced muzzle, and they're dropping like flies. And all of a sudden, Keats and Moses are like, "Oh no!" And so they start to sprint into the plane. They get to the plane
because that outruns sniper bullets.
And then all of a sudden, the henchmen are also in all 4-wheel drive trucks with Gatling guns on the back of them, It's like a paramilitary group coming after these two guys.
Straight out of Rambo.
Really, it was like a little bit of overkill. Like you would expect to see maybe like an SUV with some Uzis or something, but
they were trying to keep it as low key as possible. You can't, no SUVs and Uzis.
Right. That's true.
That would only bring the attention of the local authorities.
Right.
The stuff they have would only bring out the feds.
That's true. That's true. There you go. Yeah. So they get to the plane, and this is the second time this has happened. We got a gunfight on the plane.
All of these guns on this plane.
I know, and it's pretty amazing. I wonder how many movies that we review are going to have gunfights on planes. But at least, and unlike the last episode, Eraser, this one had some actual consequences, like the pilot being shot and the gas tank being apparently shot while the gunfight ensues. But the gunfight obviously goes on while the plane is taking off. And so they're in the middle of the air with no pilot. And this is the kind of the pivotal moment where Keats has to trust Moses because Moses knows how to fly a plane.
Oh, but why does Moses know how to fly a plane? Because his drug dealer boss had him taking flight lessons.
Right. That's right. Yes.
1,000 hours.
Another convenience. So obviously Moses takes control of the plane, and they're able to land it somewhat safely until it literally stops at the edge of a cliff. Then you have the classic teeter moment where the plane is teetering. And it's weird to me because in this movie there's a whole bunch of there's the action doesn't hit very hard. The suspense, that could have been a suspenseful moment, but they chose it not to be suspenseful, and it didn't last very long. And then all of the jokes didn't really hit either. So I'm not really sure why the plane had to just land on that cliff like that.
It was their Indiana Jones moment.
Yes, that's true. And I was going to say that there's this thing about, vehicles being at the edge of a cliff that's like peak cinema for the 90s and the 80s. If you could have a vehicle fall off a cliff, man, that's when you knew you spent a lot of money.
That's how you made, right? That's really, I think, what it is. And that's how you made the action movie categories.
Right. That's true. So then they're basically, they're stranded in the desert.
Miracle dive.
Yeah, and a miracle dive. They're stranded in the desert and they're handcuffed together. I kind of like that sort of imagery because it was an homage to like the Western
Hmm.
sort of thing going on, which I thought was kind of cool. At least they were trying to have a little bit of style. Um, and then they basically meander to this inn in the middle of nowhere. Well, they
And
find out that it's in Arizona and it's like I forget what the heck the town was called, but the inn was called Hunting Cap Inn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was okay. So here's what I thought was crazy about that. I understand at this point they're supposed to be in Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you go from the desert to the backwoods.
Yeah, yeah. That is pretty odd. It was very like the terrain was totally different. It
Hmm.
was like very foresty and it's kind of almost like a bayou because of the way the inn looked,
Right,
you
and
know.
even the insects you heard a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, like cicadas and stuff.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So they get to this inn, and this is the most awkward and weird. And this is another Adam Sandler thing. I guarantee
I
you.
think he wrote this entire scene,
I
everything
think
from here until they left. I think he
yes,
wrote.
I agree. I think he wrote everything in this inn. So like, Keats goes to use the payphone to get in contact with his chief to let them know that they're okay, and Adam Sandler basically can like starts to hit on the innkeeper, but he's a dude and he's asking him how much like he masturbates and
Hmm.
whether he wants to have a sandwich with his wife, which is
Who
like
looks like him?
who is basically him in a wig. That was like the joke. But it was very odd. It was very weird. It didn't feel funny to me. I was just kind of like, okay. I don't know if you have anything to say about that sort of initial part of that. Like, it was just
uh,
very like, where is this coming from?
I can tell you where it's coming from. Okay,
Mm,
so there's a real conversation to be had about that, and what that is, in my opinion, is why is it so okay for, and I don't even want to call it white humor. This is like a level of American humor that's so lowbrow that even most Americans are like, all right, chill out.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, really knock it off. Um, but it just so happens to be predominantly males. Like, you don't hear many chicks making boob jokes and junk. Like, there's plenty of them out there, but there's a specific demographic of men who are always making penis and fart jokes. And it's like, all
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
can only laugh at so many of them before I start wondering why is that the only thing you know how to make a joke about?
Yeah, I thought it was very, very strange. And it was weird too, because in that scene, the innkeeper, every shot of the innkeeper was like this zoomed in shot where it was
Mm-hmm.
just like his face was very close, but then like any shot of Moses was kind of like in perspective again. It was very weird, and I don't understand why they chose that sort of like lens or whatever.
I think it was
um
to make you uncomfortable.
I guess so. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably what it was. Although I feel like it hit the mark because it was like, okay, well, this makes it feel like there's something more. But when we will later find out, there wasn't really anything more to that except to set up a joke that was about to happen.
Right.
You know. So they get into this. They get their honeymoon suite. Ha ha ha. Because that's the only thing available, of course.
Right.
And it's not even a suite. It's like these little bungalows that are really tacky, and it's like all themed out and very like love hotel-esque. And Keats is watching TV and Moses is taking a shower, right?
Yes. No, no,
Right.
no, no. No, it goes the other way around. I think he showers second.
Oh, okay.
I
Let's
actually don't
see.
remember which order that happened in.
I honestly don't know either. I just remember that let's see. I'm trying to look through my notes here because I'm lost track. um, oh yeah, the weird. Okay, so yeah, that's right. So basically, while Moses showering, Keats is kind of not paying attention, and um, for some reason, Moses thinks it's a good idea to try to climb out of the shower window
Right.
in order to escape, but he's naked and
Naked and
sudsy.
soapy?
Yeah. And then like while he's halfway out the window, Keats's character comes in and puts a gun in his butt.
Now, what bothers me the most before we say anything else is you
Yeah.
see him put the gun
like in his butt.
Like, what is going on here?
I know, dude. It was very like, whoa, dude. I mean, like, even if you guys are friends, I would never do that to a friend.
See,
even if that was an enemy, I wouldn't do that.
Now you see what I'm saying? They had to know each other before this movie.
Right. So obviously this whole thing with the innkeeper was just, and like the innuendos of male sex was to set this joke up, because as Adam Sandler is naked, half hanging out the window with, Damon Wayans' gun in his butt, the innkeeper passes by. And it's like, oh, awkward, like just one of those like
my ass. Whoa.
Yeah, right.
I want you on the bed. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
who wrote this? And why did they get
what a
paycheck?
snafu? What a snafu. I don't like communication snafus. I think that they're kind of old hat by now. But and so basically that cuts to them now they're just chilling in the hotel room, and Moses is watching porn because I guess that's just a thing.
I think he was doing that. Not to cut you off, I apologize.
No, you're good.
I feel like he was watching the porn because he knew he was on the phone,
right?
And he figured he was on the phone with a chick.
Yeah. So Keats is on the phone with his physical therapist girlfriend, and like while Moses is watching porn, Keats is like, turn that off, all that stuff. And then like they're about to have phone sex on the phone. Like that was really strange. Like they start asking each other what they're wearing, and like, it was very strange. And what stops that from happening? Do you remember? Oh yeah. Moses smokes a joint. He lights a joint, and that's what stops the potential phone sex from happening,
which was like
right, like what is, I honestly, that was very strange. I don't know, as I said, the chemistry doesn't feel there, like, and it's probably not necessarily Sandler and Wayne's fault, but just like the writing doesn't feel like anything organic,
right? Well, it's like every action that came after something was literally spurned by the action that happened before. So right. Like take the joint situation, for instance. So he sparks the joint. He's sitting over there. He looks back at him like, oh, it's nothing. And he goes to hand it to him, and then he takes it and he like, puts it out. But what I think that was just starting that whole animosity, that tension again, like re-sparking that.
Oh yeah, reminding you. Oh, they don't like each other. Remember,
right? Because when he goes to hand it to him, what does he do? He looks, he sees his hands. Oh yeah, I still have on handcuffs.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, of course. And then basically Keats gets fed up with Moses, and handcuffs him to the toilet and leaves the remote in the bedroom for some reason, or in the bathroom.
Right. Well, first let's talk about how you go this whole time you found out he was a cop and you still didn't realize that Keats wasn't his real name.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't even know why that had to be a thing.
I don't either. That's why I had to bring it up now, because they had to make it a thing. Like,
yeah,
that was useless.
It was very useless.
And then him just continuing to try to convince him that he didn't shoot him on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, but you shot me.
Right.
But I didn't shoot you on purpose. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna shoot you on purpose.
Yeah, and then we'll be even.
Well, it's not going to matter if we're even or not, because either way, we both now have a bullet in us. Like,
right,
you shot me,
Right. So they go to sleep, and obviously Colton's henchmen are fast approaching, and they zoom in on the inn, and they surround the bungalow, and Moses is kind of like awake because he's still strapped to the toilet. Keats is asleep. Moses kind of hears a noise and then sees shadows outside the window, and he's doing everything he can to try to wake up Keats, but he's gagged, so he has to like kick his shoe over to him. He tries that twice, doesn't work. then he's got to reach his foot across the bathroom to get to the remote control that Keats left in there for no reason. Well, for this reason.
Clearly for this reason, right?
Yeah. So that Moses could reach it and turn on the porn so that Keats would wake up just in time to be saved and take out the henchman that was creeping into the honeymoon suite. And so they get into another sort of like shootout in the honeymoon suite. They're basically the henchmen surround them and riddle the entire place with bullets. And then they manage to sneak out.
They did not sneak out. They ran out holding a table. Which
that's right. That's right.
And they both
totally shut that out of my mind. Yeah, I totally
got shot.
Yeah. Somebody should have been dead. But then the innkeeper helps them. The innkeeper shows up and helps them flee.
Yo, Charlie.
Yeah, and then we have the
Can we talk about his truck?
Well, but basically he comes in like an old Ford, like a 51 Ford pickup. Jeez. Which is nice, but you should not be driving it like that.
You should definitely not be driving it like that.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking to myself, like, okay, so these are off-road and you're driving a lowered truck. That's a sports truck? Sir, no.
Yeah. It's like a 50s Ford pickup with the white walls and that's definitely that's a Sunday car and not an all-wheel drive all-terrain vehicle. But the henchmen get in their all-wheel drive all-terrain vehicles and chase our heroes through the forest. And of course, the Innsman knows these forests like the back of his hand. And so he knows all the turns to take in order to get the henchmen to fall into pits and drive off of cliffs. And his skilled driving is what saves Keats and Moses. And so they escape that kerfuffle and finally make it back to Los Angeles.
Wait, were you surprised
be a Greyhound?
Yeah, right. Oh, wait, pause. Were you surprised at how willing he was to make out with them after saving them?
Yeah, no. Honestly, I didn't understand what was going on. Like, why was Adam Sandler being so like?
I think that was just the humor of the time. I think that was just,
I guess,
you want to be really raunchy, joke about being gay.
Yeah, it was very bizarre.
Just keep in mind, there was even a different way you could even talk about certain things back then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because it's like, okay, well, I don't mind a good joke if it's good. You know what I mean? But like these jokes weren't good.
These were jokes because they could write. Oh,
yeah.
Nobody's in here to tell us no. And then so what I thought was really interesting before they get on. Well, first off, is that he saves you from these big bad guys, and then he drops you off at the Greyhound bus. One.
Yeah.
The second part I thought was crazy about that was, so you're really going to take this Greyhound bus after you just called the feds, and your boy just told you that the feds were dirty?
Yeah, of course.
And you don't expect this to go wrong?
Yeah.
Mr. Police Officer. I'm sorry, but what I did like also about that scene was, and this is why I wanted to make sure we did cover it, was the speech that Moses gave Keats, or at this point Carter, that Moses gave Carter, just about that gray area in life. Like everything's not black and white. There's a gray area, and most people live inside that gray area.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was, in my opinion, that might have been probably the best line of the movie, just because that's something to really learn. Like that's a real factor in life, understanding that everybody don't see things one way or other. Some people see things the way they see it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, definitely. So they meet up with the FBI, right? And it's, obviously these two suits in there, they're looking suspicious already. And Moses had mentioned that he did a lot of bookkeeping for Colton. Obviously, he's just doing everything for this guy, right. Flying planes and keeping all the books.
That's what big time drug dealers do. They have one man that does everything.
Right. And so, he'd mentioned that he knows everybody he's basically seen all the names that are on Colton's payroll. And these two FBI agents identify themselves. And as they're driving with Keats and Moses, Moses realizes that he recognizes these FBI agents' last names and calls one of them, the driver, by his first name. And they have this thing like, how do you think I know your first name?
No, I told you back at the station. Yeah, because that's what federal agents do.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And so, then they have to get into a car fight with two FBI agents in order to escape from them. And they end up ejecting both FBI agents and commandeering their vehicle.
Right.
I'm sure that's legal.
I'm sure. Because all of a sudden they weren't fugitives, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Basically, what happens after that?
Well, so after after that happens, we basically cue the shootout. Like, not even being funny, we go from that to him going, and he's going to turn Moses in, then talk to the big boss Colton, and he has the girlfriend.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Now he has to get him back, and we find out, he doesn't know these names. And as they're on their way out, he sees the captain's name, and he's like, Jensen's one of he's on Colton's payroll.
Oh, right.
Come to find out, literally 5 minutes later, he realizes, oh wait, I might be wrong about that one.
Yeah, so Damon Wayans basically attacks his chief and points a gun at his precinct because Adam Sandler's character said that he recognized the chief's last name as somebody in the Black Book, right?
Right.
And then literally the next scene, he's at Moses, Adam Sandler's character, is like, it could have been Benson and not Jensen. I really don't know. Like, what was the point of that?
I think the whole point of that was because of back at the bus stop when they were waiting, they started thinking that it was the DEA agent that had turned. So then when he saw a name that looked familiar to him, maybe it was like, maybe it's not Finch, maybe it's him, maybe it's not the DEA agent, maybe it's the captain. Jensen, it's the captain.
Right.
And then realizing, it's not the captain. Keeping in mind, for me, when they first started thinking it was the DEA agent, because he's like, well, the only people I told was the captain who was with the DEA agent and my girl.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, are we still not thinking about that third person you told there, buddy?
Yeah. No. You can't have that.
It's like,
I know. It's so ridiculous. So Moses and Keats go to meet Colton because, Colton's got Keats's girl, and he's only gonna let her live if Moses is delivered to him. So they go to the house, the basically like the Miami beach house or whatever the heck he lived at.
The used car salesman house. Huh?
Yeah. And the guy at the door basically takes their gun, but Moses had another gun and shoots him in the eye. And basically, like, they just go in guns blazing and start shooting everybody in the house.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Like, they didn't even try to be sneaky.
Cue the shootout. Hero dives included.
Yes, hero dives and perfect aim and all of that stuff. But they weren't even trying to be sneaky about it. They just went in and just started capping everybody, which I thought was an interesting approach, because I'm like, oh, well, you gave the element of surprise away. You could have killed the guy at the front gate and still snuck in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but they didn't. They decided not to do that. So Keats and Moses are there, and they split up. They separate for some reason. I don't know why they're not in the same area as each other. But Keats finds his girl finally after killing a whole bunch of dudes, and it looks like Colton got away. And he's like, come on, let's go. We got to get out of here. And she's like, okay, hold on, and then something about. He says something about like, oh, I don't know how we're going to get out of here. I don't have a gun or something like that. Yep. And she's like, but I do. And dun, dun, dun. The girlfriend was the one all along that gave him up to Colton.
I had to do it.
I had to do it. Yeah.
What I love about her having to do it is, contrary to so many, I had to do it, there was no disclaimer story. She just
No.
had to do it, and that was
No,
it.
she just had to. She just had to. And it's so funny because this broke the rule that episode 1 did with Eraser, which is you never have the twist be that the person who is nicest to the character is the one that double cross them. Like every single time. And so we find out that Tracy, the physical therapist lady, is working for Colton. Basically, she had to set Keats up. Basically, they get into like this little kerfuffle, and Moses is able to strip the gun away from the girl.
Wait. I missed it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Q shootout.
Did they have a shootout?
Yeah, they had a mini shootout. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like a little one. Right. Yeah, and so oh my god. So basically, what else happens? Like, they were able to get homegirl handcuffed, so she couldn't be a problem.
Well, so she creeped out, trying to lure him out so that Colton could shoot him.
Right.
Colton had the drop. Moses jumps in front of that, gets shot in the shoulder, and then he locks her to the stairwell and goes up there.
Right.
And not Q shootout on this one, but Q the old man, young man fight.
Oh my god, I was just about to say that. Like, well, it's so funny that these tropes are coming back up again. I literally have my notes. Like, again, they make James Caan look tough, or try to make James Caan look tough. Like,
I like, at least in this one, he had that big huff and puff.
Yeah. He had the weight belt on, so his belly wasn't sticking out as much.
And he looked like it.
Yeah. Totally had the wife beater on.
I love it.
Yes. So basically they get into this scuffle, and is it Moses that kills him?
So yes. So they get into a scuffle. He ends up smacking Carter in the head with the thing. It doesn't work. Beats him up a little bit more. Hits him in the chest with the weight, and he's basically down for the count. He draws the gun on him after he catches his breath and adjusts his waistband.
Yeah, of course.
He holds the gun on him, and then he hears Moses hit the door.
Yes,
and he swings and he shoots one at Moses, and Moses ducks the bullet. Bulletproof
because
style.
You do that.
Yeah, bulletproof style.
He literally Matrixed that.
Right, pre-Matrix. Neo who?
Yeah, exactly.
He ducks the bullet, and then he pops him in another shot. So this would be now Moses' third shot of the movie to hitting someone directly in the head.
Oh yeah, square, right in the forehead, man.
Mm-hmm.
So James Caan gets a bullet right in the forehead, and so like that's basically it. The baddie's dead, and they kind of they wind down. They're leaving the house, and basically Keats says, "Go on, man, get out of here."
Mm-hmm.
He does the what is it, the Fast and the Furious ending, where he's like, "Get out of here, man! I'll cover for you." Yeah, I'll cover for you. And Moses's character is like, "Well, I'm going to go to Mexico, and I want to become a matador. I want to become a bullfighter." Mm-hmm. And this was something that he mentioned earlier in the movie, and I thought that was a joke, but apparently he was not joking.
Really wants to be a matador.
He really wanted to be matador, because we cut to Mexico, and we enter into this saloon, and all these senoritas are talking with this guy you can't see yet, and then it turns out to be Adam Sandler in a matador costume, and he's trying to hit on all these women at the bar, and they do this like, "Oh, we actually don't like matadors," and then the big guys in the bar come up to them, and, "We don't like you gringos messing with our women," and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Keats is like, "Hey, you mess with him, you mess with all of us." And it's Keats and the dog ready to help out Moses once again.
Till you realize the dog is drunk off tequila.
Yes, apparently the dog is drunk off of tequila, because that's a thing. And so now they live in Mexico together, and they're best buds apparently.
Right. Well, so what I really enjoyed about the end, as they rolled out right before the credits, you see him getting carried out to get beat up by the guys, and his mom is just posted by the jukebox smoking a joint and laughing.
Right.
And cue the credits. It was all right.
Roll credits on Bulletproof, everybody. That was it. Um, so let's get into our final verdicts. I wrote a little blurb here, and then we'll get into our ratings. I didn't look at IMDb. Let me check that really quick. Sometimes I am responsible and do that ahead of time. Other times I have to make time in order to find it. So IMDb has this as a 5.8 out of 10.
I think it got like an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, yeah, that would make more sense. So my verdict is, if you're looking for action and comedy, look somewhere else. Bulletproof offers little of either, and when it does, it falls flat. The chemistry between Wayans and Sandler is non-existent, and the twist felt obvious and obligatory. And the story is not fantastic enough to be even watched ironically, unfortunately. Whereas Eraser was bad, but I enjoyed it for what it was. This was earnest, and it was trying to be good. And to me, it just did not get there. I wanted it to be good because I actually enjoy both of these actors, and like I wanted to find a new funny movie, but I didn't laugh once. And like I'm not necessarily stuck up, but like I usually try to, like there's usually a chuckle out of me, and I just never got there. So with that said, with everything being all in all, I would have to rate this a 1.5 out of 5. Keelan, what's your verdict?
My verdict is I am literally still bouncing around on the fence about how I feel about this movie. Reason being, there were a few moments I laughed, but they were all cheap laughs. A lot of the laughs that I had was honestly me watching a movie and remembering and realizing, like, man, they couldn't make that joke today.
Right. Yeah, me too.
And enjoying that aspect of it. And for that, I wanted to give it a little bit higher of a rating than I did. But considering that all in all, to me, this was a made for TV movie.
Yes.
Even back in 96, like if this movie were a cable special, like an HBO movie back then, or a TNT special, like, all right, cool. Yeah, go for it. But I also know cable was a little different back then as well. So either you were going to get a major budget for it or you weren't.
Right.
So from that, the acting, and I know I shit on the acting. I did poop on the acting quite a bit. But if I'm being totally honest, it wasn't the worst acting by either of them, honestly. I think it was worse acting by Damon than by Adam. I think Adam can only be so serious of an actor, period.
Yeah. I think it suffered from bad writing more than
right. And I was going to say, this is one of those examples of the ghostwriter sometimes falls flat. And some of those live moments that entertained us were clearly written by the character, not the character, excuse me, but the talent.
The stars. Yeah.
So if I have to, and I do have to give this movie a rating, I am going to give it a rating solely on the fact that I made it to the end. I did not get tired. And I would watch this movie again, in fact. But it still only gets a 1.5 from me.
1.5 out of 5 with my 1.5 out of 5 brings Bulletproof to a 3 out of 10, everybody. We are at a 3 out of 10. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, you guys. And we really hope that you enjoyed this retelling of the 1996 classic Bulletproof. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Before we go, I want to tease, because Screen Time Continuum is about the time continuum of the screen. And we use actors to get into different points of the movie universe. So we got to Bulletproof by using James Caan as the actor, because our previous episode was Eraser, in which James Caan was also the actor. He was the bad guy in that episode. So we want to continue with this sort of mode, and we are going to basically choose an actor from this movie to follow into the next wormhole. And let's see, who is that actor going to be? Well, it is none other than Mr. Adam Sandler. Obviously, that felt like a very natural progression for us. So episode 3 will be an Adam Sandler movie. And we've written down the 4 that we are considering. We have Anger Management in 2003. We have Grown Ups in 2010. We have Waterboy of 1998 and Little Nicky of 2000. Now, I have not seen 2 of these movies, so it'll be interesting to see because, I mean, most people have seen all of Adam Sandler's movies, but it'll be interesting to see which movie we decide to go to. Adam Sandler is our new wormhole, so we're going to pick one of his movies. And then for episode number 4, we're going to choose a different actor and go down that wormhole. So we really hope that you take the ride with us. We hope that we entertain you for the time being. And we really hope that you enjoyed this episode, everybody. And Keelan, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Hey, I appreciate everyone who listened in, everyone who's going to listen to the playbacks. And by all means, continue to take care of yourselves. That's all I got.
Definitely. Yes. Everybody, please take care of yourselves. Please, enjoy a bad movie or 2. We certainly have so far, and we might continue to do so. We'll probably run into some really good movies as well. But what is fun about this concept is that we have no idea where it's going to take us. We have no idea where the screen time continuum will lead us, but we hope that you join us in the journey. And until then, everybody, have a wonderful night.
Good night, guys.